Hello there, today I'll be talking about our new feature, the group-based access controls, where you'll be able to customize access to your data for each use case. After launching the group-based access control, access to features within your Decube workspace will be governed by permissions that are assigned to users based on the groups they are added to. But first, let me talk about the basics that you may need to understand, because I'll be referencing them throughout the video. First, let's talk about users. When we talk about your Decube workspace, users refer to individual accounts that you have invited into our platform. Groups refer to a collection of users. A group may have policies attached to them that gives the same policies to each user within that group. Permissions are access rules within the app, such as view A only or can edit B. Resources refer to data sources such as Snowflake or BigQuery, or modules, Business Glossary for example. Finally, policies refer to permissions that are associated with resources, such as having an edit access for an asset description in Snowflake. So how it works? Say that if you are an owner for your organization and you want to limit access for your following team members who will be added to your Decube account. So let's say I have 3 use cases here. I have Emily, Jerry, and Leah. They all do different jobs within our organization. So let's start with Emily. Emily is a business analyst, and for her, I would like her to only view Redshift assets and also only edit the business glossary. I do not want her to have any administrative access to, let's say, modify data sources or add new data sources. Whereas for Jerry, who's a data engineer, he's going to help me set up monitoring and configurations within Decube. And he's going to also create some data recons to be run in our organization. But he'll be unable to actually invite users and groups as well. As for Leah, I would like her to be able to invite and revoke access to our organization, see the plans and billings, and manage groups and policies. With the group-based access control, you can now create a group for each use case that you need. So here I'm going to give you an example for each use case. So Emily, as I mentioned, you can create a business analyst group, and to that group, you can assign source-based policy for Redshift as a read-only for catalog and the governance module. For Jerry, in the data engineer group, he can have the edit for the catalog and governance. He can have the edit for the monitoring and also the ability to create new recon configurations for all sources. As for Leah, she'll have the additional ability in the administrative type policy in managing user access and editing groups and policies and the other administrative type policies that there is. So this is how powerful our group-based access control is. So you'll be able to customize user access for all your users based on your use case. So you have strict control on who can access sensitive information in your Decube organization. So I'm going to show you an example right here. How does an experience as a viewer is like, where you are limited by your data sources and you are also unable to make any editing changes in the app. So you're able to know what actually the read-only user will see when they are restricted. So here, I actually logged into my own account where I'm in the viewers group. So within my policies, I only have the source-based access to one data source, even though there are actually many data sources in this organization. And I have quickly viewed it. I see that I only have a read-only access for this data source for all the features within Decube. As for the business glossary, I also have a read-only access here, and also for all the administrative type actions, I only have the read-only access. So here I will show you how does it look like. So when I go back into the group management, you can see that I am unable to create a new group. When I navigate to data sources, I'm unable to connect new connections or even modify or delete. I just can't see the data sources that are connected. And as I mentioned, I have access to Ironhide PG, but I'm not able to see the other sources at all. As for the dashboard, as I navigate to it, you can see that I only have the active data source, which is Ironhide PG. And if I go to data quality, it's the same. And when I go to the catalog, I'm only able to see data sources for Ironhide PG. And I see that these are all the tables that are in Ironhide PG only. When I go to the business glossary, I'm not able to make any changes, which is part of our approval flow. You can check out our video on the approval flow later. And when I go into any assets, I can see that the make changes button here as well is grayed out. As well as when I go into the monitoring tab, you can see that I'm unable to edit any monitors or add a new monitor. And you can see on the left here, if you noticed, recon is also missing because I do not have access to the data recon, which may contain very sensitive information for my organization. So here's an example where I'm within the Decube workspace and I'm on the group management UI, which is to host all the groups that you'll be creating for the group-based access control. You can see here there is one group I want to specially point out, which is the owners group. So the owners group is a system-generated group by us to provide all top-level permissions to its users. So the first user who signs up in an organization, if you are a new organization, your first user will be put into the owners group. So the first person will be able to access all the information and all the permissions required to navigate around the application, which includes managing groups and policies and also adding other members into the organization. Something special about the owners group as well is that you'll not be able to create separate policies for the owners group as you already have all the permissions anyway, and you'll be unable to delete this group as well. So an additional note for customers who have had your account before 14 June, you have been migrated to our new system seamlessly. So before our group-based access control, we had the concept of roles, which were admins and members. After we introduced group-based access control, this is what we have done for your teams. If you were in either role before the launch of group-based access control, your experience that you are familiar with pre-launch will be retained, such as access to the data sources. So here I'm going to quickly show you how to create a new group and assign policies to the group. So I'm an owner, so I have all the permissions to add a group. But if you have the policy which is called manage group and policies, you'll be able to add a group as well. So let's go here, create a new group, group, test description. And you will need at least one user to be added to actually add the group. So I'll just add Jerry Demo here. So I'll go ahead and create a group. Once the group is created, you can click into the group. When you land on this page, you notice that you have the option to edit, you have the option to delete as well. But the most important thing I want to show you here today is to actually add a new policy to the group. So you see here there are actually 3 types of policies that are available for each group. So what do each of these mean? So click onto here, then there's a short explanation of each type of policy. So our source-based policies are where you can provide access around a single data source. So what that means is if you want to edit access for Snowflake, for example, you can actually select Snowflake and give this access for each feature within that source-based policy form. The module-based policies is for policies where there is no specific source connection to tie to, such as the business glossary. The administrative type policies are general policies aimed at providing platform-wide administrative access. So think about this like inviting users, revoking users, even managing groups and policies, and as well as plans and billings and all the things you can see in the My Account page. So for this example, I want to show you how to set up a source-based policy for your data sources. So click on source-based policy. You'll need to select a data source here. So I'm going to go ahead and select Ironhide SIM. You'll be able to give access to the data catalog and governance module, where you have the choice between giving them a view-only access or an edit access. You'll also be able to give the ability for them to manage change requests specifically for Ironhide SIM itself. And as for data quality, here you will be able to give the ability to create, edit, or delete monitors and configuration, the ability to close and mute incidents, as well as the ability to access the config module where they'll be able to adjust the configuration across the entire data source. Over here, you can see that the data recon needs to be enabled. By default, we do not give access to the data recon because they contain sensitive information. So for the user to be able to access the data recon module itself, you will need to actually enable it for them. And also, if you want to give them the ability to create or edit or delete existing configurations, you can go ahead and give them over here. So here I've already created the source-based policy for Ironhide SIM. I can edit this policy. However, I want to use the selection that I've made for Ironhide SIM as a template to quickly duplicate it onto another data source. So a user's template gives the ability to actually quickly select a data source, and you can see that it duplicates the selection that I've made for Einheim. Go ahead and save the preferences. This cuts down a lot of time for administrators to actually create policies for your groups. So once you've created so many groups for your organization and gave everyone granular access to each feature within Decube, how do you know that whether one user has actually all the access they require to actually navigate within Decube? There is a way I'm going to show you how to quickly see each user's summary so you don't have to check each group whether they are within the group that has the policy or not. And what you do is you have to go to the User Management tab. So now I'm on the User Management tab and I can see that Melanie is part of 2 groups. So I'm going to click and see which group that she's in. And I can see here she's part of the Members Legacy group and also the Viewer Only group. Now remember, a user can be part of multiple groups that have different policies. So how do we handle the policies for users who are multiple groups? So for example, if you are in the Viewers Only group, which gives you read-only access for Snowflake, and also in the Members group, which gives you edit access, there is a hierarchy for the policies applied. So the edit access will exist for you when you are navigating in Snowflake assets. How you can see a list of all the policies that you have for your user can be seen in this Policy Summary tab, where you can go to each source and see what is the actual policies they have access to based on all the groups they were added into. This is a neat feature for administrators who want to quickly know whether a user has the access for a certain asset or not. So that's all for the group-based access control within Decube. If you have any question on how the policies work, we have documentation for each policy that exists within Decube right now, and all the permissions tied to each policy that will give them the access for this action within Decube itself. If you have any further question, you can always reach out to us in the live chat on the bottom right. So next, I would like to share with you our introduction of an approval workflow, which is introduced to enhance control and security within the Decube Catalog and Glossary. So changes made in the Catalog and Glossary will require approval before implementation. Simply create a change request, select an approver with the necessary permissions, and if it is approved, it will be implemented within the Catalog and Glossary. So the permission to initiate, approve, or reject change requests are dependent on the permissions you are granted in the source-based policy for each data source or the module-based policy for the business glossary. To illustrate how the approval workflow will work in your organization, here are 3 roles. Use an example of users in your organization. So first I have Emily, who is able to make edit requests in the organization for a data source. And I have Jerry and Leah, who are able to also make edit requests, and they are also able to approve or reject edit requests from others. So let me show you from Emily's view how it would look like when she's making an edit request on the catalog asset. So I'm in the catalog asset details right now, and all I have to do is to click on the Make Changes button. So I'm going to create a test description here. You can also change the owners within the group. And here I'm on a schema tag, so you can also change the description, tags, and classification for each column, and submit that as a change request. It will give you a summary of all the changes that are being submitted for approval, and go ahead and select a reviewer. If you are an owner or have the ability to approve or reject change requests, you'll be able to mark as approved immediately. Go ahead and confirm the change. And here we'll see that the request has been submitted. So I'm going to show you the perspective of an approver who has been selected as a reviewer for a change request and has a pending request to approve. So all selected reviewers will be sent an email listing the changes that have been made and which asset that has been changed. And there will be a quick link to reach where the asset is in the Decube workspace. So I'll be sent over here where I can see the changes in a preview. And I can see all the list of changes as well on this page directly. And if I'm happy with it, I can approve the changes here. You'll also be able to see all the list of changes that has been made within an organization in the Request tab in the catalog itself. So that's all for the approval flow. If you have any questions, you can visit our documentation as always, or reach out to us in the live chat in the bottom right.